Welcome to the Gounie Podcast. Interesting chats with interesting people on our very interesting Red Sea shores. This month, we feature Shona El Sayed, co-founder of Gouna Stars, our local cats and dogs welfare warriors. We also chat with artist, musician, composer, performer, and local Gouna TV GFF host Tereza Dos Santos Costa. So enjoy the talks and don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. And action! We're back here in the Gounie Podcast, and with us today, one of my favorite guests so far, we have none other than Shona El Sayed, one of the co-founders of Gouna Stars, with us on the Gounie Podcast. Shona, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Safi. So I'm glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And we sort of start off every episode, every guest, we ask them the same question. So many different answers. The word Gounie, when Shona hears it, what does it make you think of?
Gounie, for me, I think of somebody, looking for just the peaceful life. Whether they've came from like corporate, being busy working in big cities, and they're retiring and they want to come and spend, their days here with the sun and the sand. I mean, I'm from Scotland, so waking up every day with grey skies and rain, it can change your mood. So for me, it's just a peaceful place with a good community of people, whether it's from the residents or the workers, the security guys. They all know you, they know who you are. You always get a good morning, and it's just a really peaceful place for me. So I would say that, yeah.
That's a beautiful rendition of what a Gounie is.
Yeah.
And what about Shona's Gounie story? How did your sort of story with Gouna begin?
So I'm married to an Egyptian. I met him in Scotland. All the way there, yes. And I first came to Cairo, actually, back in 86, I think it was. And there, just coming to meet his family and the people, I fell in love with the Egyptian people. Their kindness, and they can't do enough for you, the welcome, I just fell in love and with Cairo. But, my husband was in the oil business, so we traveled a lot, every 2 years here and there. Then it was time to... we decided that we'd retire. We already had the villa here. And so 15 years ago, next month, we officially moved here. But I did come to Gouna for a visit back in about 91, 92, when it was just a desert. Yeah,
and
I remember.
Gerges supermarket.
Supermarket. And I think it was the Paradiso Hotel. My sister-in-law had a villa here in Phase 2, so we came to visit. And I just fell in love with Gouna. Just the drive from Cairo, it was just mountains and sand, and then you hit the sea and the aqua blue sea, and then entering Gouna, I'm like, because there was nothing. It was just this long road and all these palm trees, and I thought, wow. And then when I got to our villa and saw the sea, it's like, wow. So we decided to buy a villa as well at that time. So we used to come on holidays because I've got 3 children. So like a couple of months a year and Christmas and stuff, we would come and spend the time until we finally made the decision to move here, and it's been amazing so far.
The decision to make this place home.
Yes, this is home now, yeah.
So what about Gouna Stars? I mean, your mission is out to sort of look out for the welfare of cats and dogs in our beautiful city. I mean, how did that concept begin? Tell us the story of its development and where it is now.
Sure. So not long after I moved here, I came from the UK with my 2 dogs, and I would just happen to be walking around my area, and there were 2 ladies that bumped into me and said, look, there's a dog there, and she's had puppies, and she has them down on the lagoon. So when the lagoon rises, it was going into their little den, and the puppies' paws were getting burnt by the sand. So I had no idea about street dogs, cats, all of the welfare kind of things. And so since I felt sorry for this dog, so I started to go and check on them. And then I just happened to meet a lady and her husband, Sandra Arnaldi and Bodo. They had also been told about this dog, so they were there to build a little higher up out the water, etc. So that's where I met Sandra. And she was already in animal welfare with Blue Moon, which are in Hurghada, a big shelter there, and helping them out. So then she started telling me how to do things. And then a friend of mine joined in, Kim Earl, who's since left Gouna. And this is basically how it started, by accident. I wasn't looking to go into animal welfare. I knew nothing about it. But it just, I wanted to help these animals.
And how did that sort of morph into, El Gouna Stars, with a very detailed sort of 5-point approach to the wildlife here in Gouna, to understanding the importance of, from what I understand, maintaining at least 1 or 2 resident packs of dogs around town to keep other packs out. So much of this stuff, I'm sure a lot of our residents and visitors probably have no idea that it's happening on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, but once they kind of started and we found that dog, then we'd find another one and then another one. So we started the ball rolling and started making little shelters for them. But our mission was to do TNR, trap, neuter, release, to control the population of dogs in Algona. Because back in the early days, nobody knew or understood or knew the education on how to deal with them. So unfortunately, it was poison cases or just easy dogs were picked up and removed from Gouna. And then it became a cycle. So you'd get rid of them, new ones come in. Get rid of them, new ones come in. So with the TNR, trap, neuter, release, we catch the dogs and cats and we take them for neutering. They get vaccinated for rabies and they're checked over. And then we put them back to where they are, because these dogs are residents also. Yep. This is where they were born. This is their home. This is where their families are.
And they're tagged as well.
And they're tagged, yes. Yeah. They have a tag number. So if there's any issues, we can look up that tag number, or if any new ones come in, because Gouna doesn't have a huge fence around it. Yep. So by growing like this and having different, basically our stations are from one end of Gouna to the other, as far as to the border of Gouna as we can. So what happens there with these packs of dogs there, any new ones trying to come in, they chase them out. Yep. And to witness this is like an achievement in itself. It's quite emotional, because, you'll see a new pack maybe coming in from Hurghada, quite a big pack, and then our dogs are just no way. And they're full speed chasing them back over the border. So we have our own little border patrol of dogs.
Yes. PAW, of course.
So with this happening, we're not seeing as many dogs actually coming in anymore. And it's taken about 10 years to get to where we are because of lack of volunteers. Initially, it was just me, but actually the K9 security guys were helping me catch the dogs in the beginning. But since now we've had a lot more volunteers and a lot of help from Erascom. They built us actually a big cage, like a trap. Okay. So we can catch like a whole pack, like 10 at a time, and then they can be dead. So that speeds things up. Yeah. So we're at a place now where we're just maintaining. All of our dogs are castrated and tagged and vaccinated. They're all at stations. And they're fed every single day by a volunteer, and they're checked over, any injuries, illness, sickness. But we're not a shelter. We don't have a place to keep the dogs or the cats. So we rely on other shelters to take them in, especially Dubiland, who are a huge support to us.
Massive shout out to Dubiland.
Dubiland, yes. And the guys there are brilliant. So we actually have one dog there now who was attacked by another pack. So she goes there for recovery, and she's well taken care of. But, this initiative, it was easy. Like at the beginning, it was so hard. But just the hope, and for the people to see and understand that it does work. Because this is global. It's not just Gouna. Yeah. It's worldwide. And I think Gouna is the perfect place as an example that it's working today. Because we see what's happening. There's less dogs in residential areas. The golf course. Okay, yes, we do get some free roaming dogs. Some may just get kicked out the pack and then they're on their own for whatever reason. And they may be wandering around, but we have no control over this.
They are wild animals at the end of the day.
They're doing their thing. So even by, because there was a lot of garbage around, and because the garbage guys leave, like say 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's no pickup till next day at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. So by putting your rubbish on the street outside your door, I walk early, I see all the bags, the garbage is everywhere. not only from the dogs, the cats, the
crows,
the foxes, any kind of thing that's just searching for food to survive. But I have to say this as well has also got much better. We're not seeing as much garbage on the street as we used to. And yeah, I mean, in my area, White Villa area, I'm barely seeing any Baladis roaming around there anymore, when there used to be a lot, especially coming from the border.
Yeah. There used to be a lot in downtown even. I mean, if you think back, and not so long ago, maybe 10 years ago, you'd find packs roaming around downtown.
I know.
And sometimes at night, even for kids or for someone maybe who's got a bit of a phobia from dogs, it used to be an
scary,
issue.
Yeah. I remember when I first moved here as well, I was walking my dogs on the beach. And I knew nothing about the Baladis. And I was with a friend and I saw this pack. They started barking and running towards us. So we collected our dogs and we ran. I was absolutely petrified. So I get this from people who face this and they don't know what to do or how to react. Whereas today, if I see them and my dog is on leash, I just wait. They'll come so far, but they don't come far enough. They're going to attack you or do anything to you because they're too afraid of humans, of what they've gone through. So there needs to be a lot of education still done and put out there. Unfortunately, not many of us speak Arabic fluently, even though I've been married nearly 40 years. Shameful.
You'll get there.
Yeah, I'm still planning it. I'm still planning. So any teachers out there, I'm looking for morning. Yes. I can get by. And it's all dog language as well and mixed up. And I'm talking, But I forgot where I was now.
We're talking about how there's a lack of awareness in Arabic.
Yes.
And you guys are entirely like a volunteer sort of based organization. So maybe if someone out there is an Arabic speaker and is a lover of both cats and dogs and would love to get in touch with you guys, what's the best way to get in touch with Gouna Stars in general? The
best way we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram. So just send us a message through there. I mean, we'd love to have some Egyptians on board who know, a bit about animal welfare, or they can be shown or how it works, especially to get into the Arabic schools, in Bustan. We tried, but of course it's very difficult because I don't speak Arabic. And just to explain, because we have dogs in the Bustan and the kids see us. So they're watching us from our actions and what's going on. So they're coming slowly, but it'd be so much easier. We've had security come, Muhammad Ali from Dubiland, sit with the people and play with them, talk with them, and then the next minute the kids are touching the dogs and it's okay, they're not so scared. So it's getting rid of this fear and stigma that you should run, because if you run, the dog chases you. But they're not intending to chase you, to bite you or attack you. It's instinct. It's just, if a car is going, really fast, a bike, a jogger, they're going to chase. It's just instinct. But if you stop your car, just stop suddenly and then look, the dog is absolutely shocked and he just ends up walking away because he's just after the chase.
I mean, I think it's a bit of a clash of both cultures. Like the culture of the Baladi dog, they're extremely territorial animals. And they're also extremely alert animals. And they're also very vocal animals as well. So them running up and barking at you could be just them saying, hey, back off a little bit. This is our territory.
That's it.
And on the other hand, I mean, I'm going to call it, unfortunately, I've heard this a lot growing up in Egyptian culture. You've heard something as extreme as, خلي بالك الكلب هياكلك. So like, watch out, the dog is going to eat you.
Yeah.
Not that the dog is going to bite you or harm you or attack you. It's a very common phrase to be told to kids. That the dog is going to eat you. So just like, Spielberg and the Jaws
it's
phenomenon,
terrifying.
You grow up thinking that little, fluffy poodle is going to devour me. So you end up having a lot of canine or animal-related phobias in society, which is understandable, but it's also workable or treatable or
there's
awareness.
A solution. A solution. So I always believe that there's a solution. Even if people say to me, you can't do that, can't do that. For me, there's always a solution. There's always a way. Maybe not right the next day, but over a few months or something will come. So education is really high up there. So we are looking for people who'd be willing to go into the schools. When we started in the beginning with Kim, one of the founders, she was brilliant because she did all our social media. She set up the Facebook. Instagram wasn't there yet. And she arranged like the Christmas fairs. So we had information out there in Gouna. And she got into the British schools. She made PowerPoints and the kids loved it, you know. So this pulls at me like I'd love to have a conversation with the kids, and because they're seeing us, you know, like we say, your actions speak louder than your words, because I've tried the words and it's just by example and showing. So yeah, education is high up there. So we would be looking for somebody who'd be willing to take on that project and work with us and through the schools, who are all actually the headmistress at the school in Bustan and the others are all willing to have us come in and do something. Amazing. For the children. Staying
on the Egyptian side of things, but circling back to you mentioning having Egyptians on board, I'd like to shed a little light on, as far as I understand, there's been like some people, volunteers and helpers from Gouna Security and people that have been with you guys for a very, very, very long time, and I don't think a lot of light gets shed on them because a lot of the frontline work is theirs as well. Tell us a little bit about the team.
So in the beginning, I found Yasser, I don't know his last name, Yasser from the K9 unit at the security. I went to them and asked for help because they deal with K9, the dogs and stuff. So in the very, very beginning, it was them who would come out with me and help catch and spend the time. Great guys, and really willing to help and to make a difference as well. Because
did it start? Sorry to interrupt. Did it start with them understanding the concept of why we're doing this, why we're not resorting to the usual, maybe the crueler side of things of there's a stray dog problem. Let's let's take care of it.
Not really. No, not really. They were just I asked for help, and as you know, I got some help. I think they've been trying to understand, but today I think they see by what's happened. Okay, this is working, but it took a long time. But it is. I can explain why it's a good thing, and to have less numbers, and but it was so difficult to get it across. Maybe if I was speaking Arabic, it would be easier. But today, I believe that they see, okay, this is working. But they've always been there for support, especially Yasser and his boys there. Always been there. Anything I need or need help with, they're the first to be there. Yeah.
And you mentioned having a number of stations around Gouna. I mean, how many are they and where are they?
Yeah, so we feed around 85 dogs every morning.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I say that, people say, I don't see dogs in Gouna. And this is great. This I love because it's working. And the stations are from in Bustan border. That's the one there. And it goes right across to the other border at Makani and Kite Power, this border there beside Habiba Stables. And we keep them as far back in the area, away from residential areas. So they're in a lot of the factories, like the cement factory. There's some other factories in the back, which also helps, are the Bawebs, who are looking after the factories, who also make sure the dogs have water, they're taken care of. If there's any issues, they'll call us. They're a really big help as well, and they like having them around. There's a few stations that are unmanned, but the dogs seem to stay there or in the area, which Arascom built us kindly 2 feeding stations and gave us 2 water tanks, because it was quite difficult to go around with gallons of water every day in your car and lifting them. So we were very grateful for the help from Arascom helping us with the stations, and they also help us with the dry food, donations for dry food, and also from the hotels. Arascom hotels give us their leftovers, which the dogs love because it comes from the canteen. So it's what they would find on the street: rice and chicken, kofta, markhaya, they love. So we received this from the guys at security. One goes and picks up every single day and delivers it to us. So then we go through it and clean it in preparation for the next day's feeding. Yeah.
So that segues perfectly into my next question of can people volunteer to go with you guys on these feeding daily runs, and how can people get in touch if they'd like to make a donation of maybe some leftovers, or helping to donate, buying some dog food or water, etc., etc.
Yeah, I mean, anybody's welcome. We love taking people on tours. And then we find a lot of tourists who are coming on holiday accidentally find out about us, or somebody mentions. So they message us, and they love it. We take them out for the morning, finish up with a coffee and stuff, and they get to meet all the dogs and take lots of pictures. And then they come back again. We have repeater. Also with the cats, some of the hotels, they have so many repeater guests. They come for the cats because they'll be at the hotel, and the cats are all there, so they get to meet up with the cat. These are the cat lovers. But again, they would just need to reach out to us on either messages on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll message them right back and arrange something.
Amazing.
For donations, we don't have an account so far in Egypt, so our donations go through PayPal. If you live in Gouna or you're visiting Gouna, we can arrange a pickup, and we have a European bank account at the moment. Which kind of brings me on to where we are with our Gouna Stars now. Okay, the foundation is there. We've achieved what we've been trying to achieve, which is amazing. And we're maintaining now. For the cats and the dogs, we're feeding them, checking them. There isn't so many needing castrations, although some do sneak in and we have to do them. Or we have the issue now of lots of people dumping dogs.
Yes.
Yeah, private dogs or baladi puppies.
Yes. And I think it's very important to bring that point up, especially with the baladi puppies. You're driving on the road and you see a little hole or a little, place with a bunch of puppies. People anthropomorphize, they feel sorry for them, and they decide to bring them to you guys. Well, actually, the mother might have just left them there because she's going to get them some food and come back, and you've just taken her kids away.
Exactly.
So what's your recommendation in these situations?
So, I mean, this is really hard. Even for, if you're driving in your car, especially if you're heading to Hurghada or something, and you see a puppy, it's on its own. People feel sorry for them. They want to save them, want to do something. But when you do this kind of thing, that person is taking really full responsibility, because all the shelters and places around there's no place, they're full. And if you bring a puppy here, like there was one recently, a guy took a puppy for his daughter, but he didn't want to keep the puppy at home. So he decided to put it to one of our workers' area. We had 3 dogs there. And sadly, after a couple of days, the puppy followed one of the guys, and the puppy was attacked by these dogs. And sadly, the puppy was killed. And if you bring a dog, into the area, like you're saying before, the areas are quite territorial. So you can't just take a dog and say, here you go, let's put it at that station. It doesn't work that way, because they're so territorial, protective. They don't accept new dogs coming in. So then that dog ends up getting really badly injured or killed. And then it's left to us to try and get it treated. And then where do we put it? Because we're not a shelter.
Exactly.
Which was kind of leading me up to saying, like, where we are now. Like I said, we have the foundation. There's a next step now that needs to go. And this is where we've done all our hard part. We've done it for, nearly come up to 15 years. Looking for fresh blood. Somebody who had the passion and the go and everything, when we all started. Because there's an opportunity to register our Gouna Stars and have the NGO, even open a small shelter for the injured or the sick or the ones that are dumped. So there is an opportunity there that you can move up to the next level. But most of us who are volunteering now, it's a huge commitment.
Of course.
This will be a full-time commitment, probably lifetime commitment. And then all our circumstances have changed. I'm a grandmother now. I've got kids living in the UK, so I want to travel more. I want to make them a priority, because the dogs were a priority, for the past 15 years. It was always the dogs. I can't travel because there's no volunteers. I have nobody to watch my dogs. Who's going to feed them? So we're maintaining now. So there is an opportunity. If there's anybody out there I've heard many people, I'd love to open a shelter or do something. Please contact us.
And I think now that you've mentioned the fact that a lot of tourists are getting in touch to go out on these feeding runs, in my mind that means, well, wait a minute, this could become a sustainable business model.
Yeah.
This is something I'm sure a lot of people that visit Gouna would be willing to pay.
Yes.
To go on these tours, would be willing to pay to have their kids experience. Go, because they are wild animals. They're wild dogs at the end of the day. So maybe someone out there listening or watching, a light bulb sparks and they get in touch.
That would be nice.
So moving on from the dogs, let's move to our lovely Gouna felines.
Oh,
because Gouna Stars focuses on both cats and dogs. And I'm sure a lot of local Goonies have heard this comment at one point or another from visitors and friends. People saying, you guys have got some fat cats here in Gouna.
Yes.
So they look like they're well fed. They look like they're well taken care of. They look like they own the streets and the corners that they sit in. Yeah. What's the story behind the cats?
So for the cats, hopefully I can answer because I'm one of the dogs. But for the cats, so obviously they're more acceptable around town, residential areas than the dogs are. That's why we keep them out. So with the cats, residents or shop owners are feeding them, taking care of them. They'll contact Sandra if there's any new ones coming in that need to be castrated. But it's ongoing with the cats. Recently, they've just found 14 kittens. Don't know where they came from. Again, the dumping kind of thing. And it's really overwhelming. And although we're trying to keep the population down, it keeps coming. And I suspect this will keep happening. And again, taking those cats into an unknown area, they will be attacked by other cats and things. But there's feeding stations, but they're done by residents or shop owners around town who take care. They're all in connection with each other. If there's any injured, people are contacted. They help each other to take to the vet and so forth. Nice. Yeah.
And our visitors, and our residents, from someone who's in it day in, day out, what would you recommend, whether someone's coming into town for a holiday or whether they live here locally? How should they approach the issue of trash, feeding, volunteering? What are Shona's recommendations?
So, trash. If you can keep it in your house until the morning, this would be great. We've even had stories of, or telling people, can you please put your trash in the bin? And it's like, oh, I'm not touching the bin. So it's sitting next to the bin. It's so important. If you don't want any, cats, vermin, black birds, especially, there's so many of these days, keep your trash inside overnight. Put it out in the morning. And then you're not going to see these animals around or barking all night or whatever. I forgot what you said next.
The recommendations for our visitors,
Yeah, also visitors. So we do get a lot of residents feeding the dogs as well. So if there's like a lone one or, free roaming one, we call them. And, it's difficult. I know he's walking past your house and he's looking really sad and tired and you feel sorry for him and you want to feed him. But again, if you feed him, then it's your responsibility to fully see through this dog. So because once you feed them, they stay.
Yeah.
He's got a food source. Yeah. He's staying. You're being kind to him. So he's going to stay with you. And what normally happens, then I get a phone call, oh, I'm leaving back to wherever.
Here's the dog.
Take the dog. It's like, I don't have a place to take the dog. So then the dog just, it's taken away somewhere.
Them being animals in the wild, I guess a good way to think about this or to approach this would be as if you're on safari somewhere, in the African continent. If you see a lion attacking a wee baby little monkey, that's nature. You shouldn't get involved. If you see a bunch of lion cubs, you don't give them meat. You don't get involved. Just like you said, you do feel sorry for them. We're human. We empathize. We anthropomorphize in this situation. But it's best to leave them alone.
It's best to absolutely not feed them, because the certain ones that I've known of have mothers, they have their young dogs, and they probably just wandered off. But mum will find them, and she is so important to teach these dogs how to survive, so she can show them where the food source is. Because with Algona growing so big, and moving further to our stations where we are, you'll find with any construction place, you'll find dogs. Yeah. Humans equals food. And it's fascinating. I've watched them when they were building mangrove residence down at the beach. 4:00, all the workers are finished. They're all walking out in a line. And then behind them, the dogs are all walking in a line to go and finish up what they've left, the baladi bread, cheese, or chips, or whatever is there. And this is a difficult situation to get all the workers to put their food in the garbage bin or whatever.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
These dogs are so smart. They will find their way. They can smell food from miles away, and they'll figure it out. So they're not, I haven't really seen any that are just so badly malnourished or starving or skeletal. I see someone like, where'd you come from? And he looks so healthy. So he has his food source somewhere. So really, it's best not to feed them. If you're interested, you can come and feed them with us. And most of these dogs know where the feeding station is, or they can come close enough. If they can't come to the station, they can be fed further up the road or something. So they know where the food is, and there's plenty of it,
That's incredible stuff. That's amazing. Shona El Sayed, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Gouna Stars, each and every single one of you, for all the incredible work that you guys have been doing. Follow them at Gouna Stars. Please volunteer your time, your effort, your monies, if you can, to help make Gouna a nice, safe place for cats, dogs, and humans alike. Shona, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Safi. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure having you.
Thank you.
All right, and cut. And action! We are back with another edition of the Gounie Podcast, and I am thrilled to have none other than Tereza Santos Costa with us on the show.
Thank you so much, Safi, for having me. It's a pleasure.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Now, Tereza, we start off asking everyone the exact same question, and we keep getting so many different answers. And I'm very curious as to yours. A long-standing Gounie, when you hear the word Gounie, what pops up to your mind? What does Gounie mean to you?
Diversity, freedom, and just colorful. It's joy. It's so many things of, in that freedom space where you can just kind of create. Anyone that comes to Gouna can be whatever he likes to be. And so that is really what makes the place. So like every single Gounie is so unique and so different, and you won't find anyone like that, in just like normal cities like Cairo or, even Germany where I grew up. So that's what the Gounie is to me. Like it can be anything that you want it to be.
Love it. Love that answer. And knowing you're a person that has created a lot in Gouna and created a lot in so many different facets. And one of the things that we've actually had I've had the pleasure of working with you with was on a lot of GFF stuff, and GFF is right around the corner.
Yes.
So, you've been presenting and hosting the GFF festivities for Gouna TV and beyond, I think, since the very first edition. So if someone has some interesting backstage stories or behind the scenes sort of, BTS tea spilling, concepts, then I'm sure it's you. Tell me, how did you get into the red carpet of GFF, and how's it been for you?
So as you said, Gouna TV, we've been a part of it since the very first edition. And so it was through Benoit. Obviously, he's, set that up for us, the founder and owner of Gouna TV. And I just kind of grew into this. To be honest, I never thought of myself to be doing that, nor did I think I would ever end up on the red carpet interviewing Sylvester Stallone or Patrick Dempsey. But we kind of, as a team, the whole production team, that's the irony of it. We're 3 people. So we just kind of grew into that all together. And there were funny moments. There were devastating and very challenging moments. We definitely always all cursed our lives throughout, and we did not have any sleep whatsoever. And we were so mad at ourselves and each other and everyone around us. But then at the very end, like the closing ceremony, we're just, always there, and tears in our eyes, so grateful, so joyful, full of experiences, full of love. And it was really awesome. If I had to remind myself of like the most memorable moments, there were definitely a few funny ones. There was one that I remember. So we had just done, Patrick Dempsey was attending one of those ceremonies. And we had done an interview with him already beforehand. And so when the ceremony started and everybody was inside, we stayed behind on the red carpet to do just some pickup shoots. So, some intros and here and there. And so they did the ceremony. We were doing that. And it was just the three of us. We were very focused. We were very aware of our surroundings. Obviously, nobody was there. Patrick Dempsey decided, apparently he didn't want to attend the whole ceremony, so he was just there for 5 minutes. That's what apparently they all do. So he sneaked back out, not even through like the exit where everybody would see him. He sneaked back out through the red carpet. And so he came. It's like a movie scene. We were at the very end of it, and he came from the other end of it, walking down like a cat walking now down the red carpet. I was doing my pickup shot, and Emil, he was so focused on the camera, like getting ready, it's like, this is the moment, like we're getting a shot of Patrick Dempsey. He's coming just towards us. This is so surreal. And then he was so focused with the camera, and then he came and he had a full-on conversation with me. He was like, wow, this is such a beautiful dress, and thank you so much for the interview, you guys. That was so awesome. Like he gave us the most amazing compliments ever.
Probably because he felt like he was escaping, so he had to
of course, exactly. Turns out, so he leaves, and I turn to Emily, and he looks at me. He's like, "What was that? Was that Patrick?" I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So like he captured nothing. Wow. Everything was lost. He captured nothing. The compliments for Gouna TV, the compliments on my dress, the compliments. It was Sarah, like his catwalk going down, it was such a good shot. And he was watching something else on the camera, watching like the pickup shot that we just did, like to see what we can tweak, and maybe we have to do it again. He missed the whole scene of like 3 minutes of Patrick Dempsey coming towards us. So that was one that I'll never forget. Then Sylvester Stallone, actually, he was quite inspiring, I must say. And I know that wasn't it you who played his... Yeah.
He sort of gives me a fist
right,
towards it.
Like, that was funny. And he came, so something in the film festival went wrong, and they couldn't deliver on something that they needed to deliver for us in Gouna TV. So they tried to make it good in the end. And so nobody was allowed to interview Sylvester Stallone, but they kind of managed for us to like put us in that corner spot on the red carpet. And then for Sylvester Stallone to come in, we had 2 minutes with him exclusively, and nobody else had that. And so everybody was like storming towards us when they noticed that this teeny 3-person channel is having like 2 glorious minutes with Sylvester Stallone. And
with Rocky.
Exactly. And there's only so much you can do, right? In 2 minutes. Like you have to really pick your questions. And so you need one icebreaker, and then you want something substantial.
Yep.
And so the icebreaker was, what did you do today? And he went out on the boat, of course, with the Severes and swam with the dolphins and all that jazz. And then the icebreaker, the substantial, like more in-depth question, it was pretty profound. Like we asked him what advice he would give his younger self if he had to do it all over again. And he, said some really profound things that stick with me as an artist up until today, and to everyone in the team.
Please share. What did he say?
He said, learn how to manage yourself early, because nobody is going to do it the way you want it to be done. Like no one is going to do it for you. You have to manage your own life. You have to manage your own career. You cannot rely on any agent or manager or anyone in your team to do it for you. You have to do it yourself. So learn how to do it early. Exactly.
I hear you.
Exactly. And so that was insightful. There was one edition that was especially windy, and all you could see were flying dresses.
I remember saying and recommending that in the very first edition of GFF, when I was kindly asked to give some input. What do you think? I'm like, wow, this is a great idea. Don't forget to tell the stars and all the participants that it might be windy.
Yeah, and some really didn't take that to heart so much. And so there were a lot of flying dresses. You could see a lot of things exposed that probably didn't want to be exposed.
Red carpets,
Right, but I feel like after that, the wardrobe has dramatically changed after that edition.
Speaking of which, and because someone might not have an idea, GFF is El Gounas Film Festival. It's our local film festival.
Right.
And it's, I guess, 7 days of Oscars or 7 days of Cannes. It's a 7-day festival. Right. So there are so many events, so many different red carpet events, closing, opening. And for guys, it's like, 2 shirt, pants, tie,
Right.
whatever, I'm done.
Right.
How stressful is it? Those 7 days, procuring the dresses, making sure the dresses don't clash, all the hair and makeup sort of stuff. That must be quite a undertaking.
Absolutely, and I feel like, you know, the pressure, especially on women around that, because it's so expected to show up every single day with a different dress and a different makeup artist, and like that's the one thing that we noticed pretty early on as like the standard question along the entire red carpet. Every single channel asks the actress, who's the designer, and then they do the whole list of my jewelry is from this and that, dress is from that designer, makeup is from this, hair is from that, shoes are from this, and so on and so on. And it's there's a lot of pressure on women around that, and I feel like because of that, the Gouna TV station on the red carpet is undoubtedly the A-listers' safe haven on the red carpet to run to immediately, because they know that they don't have to answer these questions there, and they don't know that we don't care about their looks. Because in Gouna, we don't care about the looks.
Exactly.
And Amina Khalil, for example, you know, she always comes and she loves having conversations with us at Gouna TV on the red carpet, because she can just talk about her 2 hours that she had during the day going kite surfing. And so, you know, I think
it's a breath of fresh air, probably,
exactly.
to know that, all right, this isn't like, what are you wearing? Who are you wearing?
Exactly.
So I actually want to get real for a second here. And I want to ask your artistic opinion. It's understandable. All the glamour aspect of a film festival comes with its many benefits. You know, lots of sponsorships, there's lots of money in that sort of area.
Right.
But how much does it take away from the actual art in a film festival? You know, do you feel that having a lot of these news entities focusing on the artist and what she's wearing and how she looks, does that not take away from, what do you think of the film? Does that not make, you know, what do you think of the movies? Becomes a bit of a superficial sort of like, you know, add-on question and not the main focus of a film festival.
I fully agree with that, and I think it is extremely important to add all these, or to shed more light onto all the other aspects that are already part of the film festival. We do have the Cinegunas platform for, you know, artists to meet and talk about their upcoming projects. For like there's a lot of substance talk happening in the film festival, but it's not where the eyeballs are on. And unfortunately, I mean, like I do think that this is probably something that where some work still has to be done. I'm not sure actually how in Gouna this would be perceived, because it does seem like, I mean, the easiest and the most shallow thing is, you know, putting attention to that, what you just said, like the glamour and the red carpets. And then I don't actually know how it would resonate with the community if we only brought, or like more so brought to them, the substance like that is actually happening at the campus every year, like the talks, the panels, the, you know, everything that's around the red carpet. There's a lot of like community speaking. These people show up to the panels. They're actually most of the time filling the room, but I don't know how much of the audience that is coming to Gouna for the film fest was actually participating in that, unless they're like on the panel themselves. So, and having been now in a lot of other film festivals around the world, especially this year with our film that we released, there's none of that glamour, honestly. Like the glamorous film festivals are
just the award ceremony, and I think it's usually
it's
just
the award ceremony, and it's really just in Cannes, and maybe
a little bit in Venice, maybe
now in Venice. That's coming up now. But all the other film festivals, you'd be surprised how people show up even in the opening and the closing ceremony, casual chic, and there's none of that glamour. It's really a little bit misportrayed, I would say. And luckily, we do have the motto Cinema for Humanity. Yes. So that kind of grounds it back into, you know, a little bit of more of an essence to the film festival, and like those real life human stories that are being shared in those films is profound. And that, luckily we have that. So I really think it's important. It's very, very important to shed more light on that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you mentioned human stars. We've discussed Sylvester Stallone. We've discussed Patrick Dempsey. Tell us, who else has been on the roster? Tereza's red carpet GFF experiences.
Let's see. Oh, we had Owen Wilson.
I remember Owen Wilson.
We had Owen Wilson.
Do you remember how many wows he said during his interview?
Right. That was funny.
Wow.
Yeah, we couldn't even count them. Yeah, he was an interesting character because you would think that he's so funny, right, and social, and he's really not.
But that's just our that's our expectation of and a lot of comedians actually go through that.
Yeah,
but
because
you're not as funny. It's like, this is
right.
just
This
me.
is my stage persona. This is not,
I remember attending a panel. I think it was one of the very first editions, and I was in awe. There was Forrest Whitaker and Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like a panel with 2 Oscar winners.
Goodness.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Favorite. Forrest Whitaker was the most peaceful and inspirational interview I've probably done throughout the whole film festival. Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah. It was at the Maison Bleue, and he really took his time. When they send these A-listers and big stars to all those interviews, there's only there's maybe a handful of stations of outlets, media outlets. Gouna TV, luckily, is always one of them because we're a local channel. And so they usually just rush them through, and they say the same thing everywhere, and they just want to get done and out. And he really took his time. Like, with each and every station, he extended by at least 5 or 10 minutes. And when he met us, he looked in each of our eyes and said hello and shook our hand and asked a few questions before we started. He was so genuine, and he's a vegetarian as well. And, he loves to meditate. So all these things are just really reflected through what he had to say. And just a very beautiful heart, very connected to the human spirit and to the heart, and doing good deeds. And that was a really beautiful interview. He was great, Forrest Whitaker, and obviously Oliver Stone is an icon in his field. So
absolutely,
that was awesome too. Yeah,
nice. Speaking of the good deeds, how good of a deed do you think the film festival has done to El Gouna? How important do you think it's been for the town? How important do you think it's going to be for the town? And, as someone who's been there from day one, where would you like to see the festival go?
Right. So it's extremely important for the town, and has certainly put it on the map internationally of, culture, not just a vacation spot, but that there is something that draws audiences from around the world that are in the arts and culture scene, and that have to, that are telling stories, that are connecting audiences from around the world. So it's definitely elevated El Gouna by a lot. I think it's also bringing community together, obviously, and I would love for it to just become more international at this point. I think it's ready. It's been now 7 years, and I think it's been pregnant now for 7 years, and to get ready for that, I think it's ready to
to deliver. Nice GFF, baby.
Right. So instead of being a GFF, it'll be an IGFF.
Yeah, International Gouna Film Festival.
So
absolutely.
that would be the next step, I think, and I do think it's ready now with the GCCC, where it's at different locations. It's not anymore, in the new marina, grown so much in program and in what they have to offer, in everything, in size and matter, and so I would really love to see it there, which would also then, of course, attract more audiences from abroad. So really, focusing on that would benefit Gouna a lot.
Nice. Yeah. And speaking of international film festivals, you've been on the circuit lately, because you've done some great work, and you've taken part in composing music for the Netflix film Skywalker.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about that experience. How did it come? How was it working on the movie? How was it doing the festival tour?
Yeah. Super incredible experience. So my partner, who is an established filmmaker, he lives in LA, And once we started dating, I was pretty much in that whole, like in it, in the project, just, you know, through brainstorming and then story developing, or like being just looking over his shoulder in the edit process, doing pickup shoots. And I find myself with him in Malaysia doing a shoot at a circus, and all of the entire process was just incredibly interesting for me to witness and to learn with. And being surrounded by such a professional team that's like been doing this for so many years, like all their life, on, you know, working with clients like Netflix and Apple and Paramount and whatnot. So it was very humbling. I learned so much. And because I had been a part of that story development and the production in general, it was very easy then for me to like just plug and play in terms of music.
Nice.
And so that's when Jeff came in and he asked me if I want to compose. And so we started in the beginning, we started picking needle drops, him mainly, but I gave my ideas as well, to just put the needle drops like as a structure. And then there was another composer, the lead composer, who he's worked with a lot. They built out the structure musically to like replace those needle drops that were only temp music. And then it allowed me to come in and really just create unique melodies on top, and like restructure and, you know, work with the composer, with the other composer, Jacques, very closely together, which was a very big learning experience as well. And because it was so personal, like the story itself, and also working with my partner in such an intimate but professional team, there was really zero pressure, and I could just allow my creative flow to come out. And like, you know, it just, there was no, it just kind of like, it flowed out of me. And it happened, like the theme melody of what ended being up the theme melody of the film, is actually what came to me here in Gouna.
Nice.
So yeah, and I experienced that a lot, that when I'm abroad, that I get inspired there, but the integration happens in Gouna, and it cannot happen anywhere else. Like I can get inspired, but it doesn't really land on anything really, unless I come back home to the roots. I come back to Gouna.
Gouna, where things click.
I swear to you, exactly. And then I was jet lagged. I just arrived home, and he had sent me this like new pad of stuff. He said, "Here, try this. Send me something in the next few days." And I sat down on the piano, one of my pianos that like broken keys, and sat down and just kind of like poured out of me. And then I recorded it on my iPhone, sent it back to him. He's like, that's it. That's the one.
Wow.
And so it was a very beautiful experience. And then the film festival tour. So we premiered, we had our world premiere at Sundance Film Festival in
that's probably
February.
An experience and a half.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. So like people only know of Cannes, but actually Sundance is like the trendsetter. Like it sets the tone for the entire experience. If there's a film
festival I'd like to go to any time in my life, it's definitely going to be Sundance.
Right, yeah. Like it just sets the tone for the entire film festival season, because it's the first one and it's incredibly hard to get in. Yeah. And it was such a great experience just to be a part of that right away. And so we premiered out of Sundance, and we sold it to IMAX and Netflix as the highest sold featured doc, or second highest doc out of the festival. And then we had a theatrical release in IMAX globally for a week. And then after it released on Netflix worldwide, where you can watch it now. And throughout, when we started the film festival circuit, it was a run of in total 6 months. Nice. We had some breaks in between, but it started Sundance, and then went to London, and we played at Tribeca in New York, and we played in Sydney International Film Festival, and then a bunch more at Telluride and US, the Hamptons as well, US cities, Mexico City as well. And yeah, it was quite an experience. Like, as I already said, it was very unlike what people usually would expect of film festivals. Way less glamorous than people would think, and just really much more substance and networking and like real people and real conversations about, you know, the film industry and projects, and just very inspiring. And it was a great experience. Yeah. Wow. Lots of growth and like very intimidating sometimes, but just being thrown into the cold water sometimes really is amazing, and that turned out really well.
I'm glad it did. And you know what? Growth, that segues perfectly into my next question. From on-screen music to sort of a holistic healing music approach that you seem to have adopted in the past few years. I mean, we've performed together a lot. You're, for those who don't know, you're an amazing multi-instrumentalist, you know.
Thank you.
But all of a sudden, you've decided to take a holistic and healing approach, and I think you started something called Sound Healing Egypt.
Right. Yeah.
Now, tell us a bit more about that. You know. What's the resonance there?
Right. Well, good choice. I mean, that's really where my heart is at, I think, where my passion is at. It's just kind of grounded and landed in that place, and it's effortless, it's beautiful, it's giving, you know, it's, it has a purpose. So like I get to do what I love and just tweak it a little bit and pass it on to people, and you see what it does to them, and it creates a safe space for people to feel their emotions and find, you know, their inner journey or some guidance or their own healing within themselves. And it's something I think that was always, I mean, as a classical musician growing up, you're so much in your structured box thinking, especially classical music.
Mathematics. It all becomes very mathematical, literal.
Absolutely, yeah. And so it's, I think it took me longer than it could or should have to just like break out of that and see what's already within, like if you grow up with music on that level. And so to just like break that and just see what else is out there, and just like ground yourself in, you know, into the actual vibrational medicine that music really brings. That was profound, and it helped me a lot on my personal journey. And then from there, it was very easy to just, you know, take that, and now I want to pass it on to people. And so, breathwork and sound healing has really done that for me, and for others. Like I love sharing it with people who resonate with that too. And vibrational medicine is something really powerful. Like music, as we all know, it's frequency. Like, you know it, you see it on the screen, you can measure it, it's all around. So why not, you know, utilizing that more intentionally and see what benefits it can actually bring when you just put more awareness to it and really tap into it. And so like sound healing has been a beautiful place for me to always just dive into and pass it on to others, share it with others, collaborate with others.
What's your go-to answer? Because I'm sure you probably hear this a lot. What's your go-to answer to someone who just straight up sort of says, "Oh, no, sound healing, music therapy. I don't subscribe. I don't believe in that."
Right.
You know, how do you usually respond to that?
You know how it's actually been a lot around on the internet lately, but back then it wasn't very much common knowledge yet. You know, when you take a singing bowl and you fill it with water, and then you play it, and
then you see the uniformity,
you see all the
of
shapes
the waves
and how it bubbles, and even if you put like a flower inside, and how it actually opens up, and you can smell it, its scent. That's all. Like, you don't need to put
just
any
show
words to it.
Just show 30-second reel. Like, hold up, here you go.
Like you can just do that, and then or just put take an instrument and put it onto someone's body. And if you take a singing bowl or even just a gong, which is like the mother of all sound instruments because it has such a massive vibration, it really shakes the water within your cells of your, like literally cells in your body. They feel the vibration, and once they feel the vibration, it does, like, it shifts something inevitably. Like it moves the water in your cells. It shifts trauma, it shifts emotions, it shifts thoughts. Like anything energetically will be shifted. So like a person will feel it. So it's just something, you know, where you need to find like an approach where they understand it, where they see or think of it in a different light. So if they're so stuck on, that's just some woo-woo, you know, whatever theory, make them see it with their eyes, what's happening, or make them feel it on their body, you know. So that's usually the approach, and then they're either inspired or in shock.
Well, it sounds like a great way to deliver inspiration and happiness and joy. And you've done that in a bunch of other ways. And I want to sort of highlight your work with Disney. Because that's also a way to spread happiness and joy.
Oh, absolutely.
And you did I don't know, some tours as Snow White with Disney on Ice. Now tell us a bit about that and how different is that? Because I've done a Disney tour. How different is that from that regimented, everything is calculated by the second to versus sort of having the freedom in a more holistic healing sort of musical approach?
Yeah, it's two different worlds entirely, and I'm grateful for both. So I've been on tour with Disney on Ice for, I mean, in total, on and off, it was now 14 years. I've just been with them again last year because I just can't not do it. So I still tap in and out sometimes for a month or here or there. And it's been great. Yeah, I started as an ensemble skater and worked myself up to a principal skater, and I got to be a bunch of princesses. And it's beautiful how like to go out there 3 times a day and just make masses of children and audiences happy to an extent that they cry. And or like just jump from joy. And like we have to remind ourselves as performers, when you're out there and you're doing this like literally 3 times a day, it becomes such a routine, and your body, it takes a toll on your body when you're on tour for like 7-8 months. But for each of those people that are coming, this is their one highlight probably of the year that their parents saved up for the entire year most of the times, you know. So you gotta make sure that you go out there and you deliver each and every single show, and that is tough. Like sometimes, like being on tour for 8 months with the same amount of people, you see each other day in, day out, at breakfast, backstage, on stage, travel days off all the time. That can be challenging, but on the other hand, it also provides a family. Like your tour family becomes your actual family. You spend with them Christmas and New Year's. And you just see how you're making 10,000s of people in each and every show, and the biggest arenas happy. Now, the challenging part here is that you don't get caught up in this very easy, like the ego stroke that comes with that, right? Like the immediate reward through the audiences screaming and clapping, and like you're the princess, you're the star of the show. That's dangerous. Like if you have to make sure that you know who you are once you take that costume off.
Absolutely.
And Disney on Ice does a really good job at doing these little events outside as well, off ice, where we go to children's cancer patients or hospitals and show up and really make their day. And most of the time, like it's really hard to not tear up when you see that. It's very touching. But it does, a good job, and like keeping you humble. A lot of times. And I'm just really grateful. But it's very different, of course, from that life that we have here in Gouna that I've created here. And I think that's kind of what I back then, maybe subconsciously. Now looking back, it makes more sense to me why I chose that dynamic of being on tour with Disney and then on my breaks coming to Gouna, why I chose Gouna as my home. Because it has that counterbalance, right? Like it has this exact opposite, aside from the fact that Gouna itself is like a Disneyland in Egypt. And it's like the only similarity it has. It's just a completely different world. And so like making sure that, you're able to live in both and like break free from both is, I think, very important for anyone in Gouna. Like my number one tip in Gouna is for Goonies. If you want to survive in Gouna, make sure that you get out every now and then, that you have a different life somewhere. You do the same thing.
I do.
Like and I think really that's the recipe to having a happy and long life in Gouna, is that you need to have your world somewhere else. Yeah.
And with those incredible words of wisdom, Tereza Dos Santos Costa, it's been a pleasure having a chat. There's so much we can still talk about. Yeah. So probably we hope to have you on another episode very soon. Thank you so much for joining us, and keep doing all the amazing things that you've been up to.
And you too. Thank you so much for having me, Safi. It was absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Pleasure. All right, and cut.